everyone. I am Laura Rogers, and this is Joelle Jobson, my roving reporter in the little window there. This is Power Hour, and this is our show that we do Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've been doing this for about 8 years, and it used to be just SharePoint Power Hour. Now it is just Microsoft 365, all the different products, SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams, and just all the different apps involved in Microsoft 365. And we take this sort of from a business user perspective. We're not going to do anything super technical. And also I send out a newsletter the day before Power Hour, and you all vote on our topics. So the topic you all voted for today is the various ways you can display images on in web parts on pages in SharePoint. And so we'll talk about all the different sort of types of image web parts and working with images in on your SharePoint pages. So the fun thing about having Power Hour Live is that we have a live chat, and we do this in Teams. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So when you click the little link below this video that you're watching to fill out the form to join for the first time, we manually have to send you an invite, so it's not going to instantaneously put you in here. But we have this Teams team that you are going to be in, and you toggle at the top right in Teams over from your company to IW Mentor Power Hour. And then once you go to this general channel, Post is where I'm going to put some resources, but you'll see we have tabs across the top, and here's today's. So you go to today's, and then this little conversation button is probably not going to be turned on. So you toggle the chat, and then you can push play, watch the video, and say hello. So there's everybody. We've been talking about weather. So hi everybody and welcome. And I'm going to go ahead, and I've got couple of slides, and I'll go ahead and share that, and we'll get started. Web parts. Who knew? All right. Okay, so when we're dealing with images in SharePoint, there are several different web parts involved. So there are several different ways you can display images. So I've got several different web parts I'm going to talk about and demo. And then there are several different concepts with the images that you might want to do. So some of the web parts having to do with images are just static images that you always just want it to be the same thing. But then sometimes you might want it to be dynamic. You might want it to roll up content from other sites, other places, multiple libraries. And so I'm going to go over kind of all the different aspects of what the web parts are, and then what you can do with them. And like I mentioned, I've put some resources. I'll go ahead and make sure that I pin my resources here. So it says resources for the image web parts episode, and I did pin it, and it's over here on the post channel page tab there. Channel page tab. Okay, so with images, this is what I've got here. So I've got a little comparison chart, so you'll be able to tell what you'll be able to do with the different types of image web parts. So I'm going to kind of rattle through all these, and then we'll go do demos of them. And a couple of them we've already done demos of. So first of all, with the image web part, it is really just an image that you want to display on a page. And this image can have a hyperlink. So that means when you click on the image, it takes you somewhere. And it's not going to be dynamic. So it is going to be just whatever image you pick. And it's always going to be that image. And it's just going to take you to whatever hard-coded hyperlink that you set up in the web part settings. And it doesn't have any layouts. It does have a little sort of overlay text that you can do. And then we have the image gallery web part, and that one does not have hyperlinks. So the purpose of this is just going to be if you want it to show a set of images. Say maybe you have a company picnic, or you have a set of products, and you just want to display information just for people to view. And there's not a way to set up each image to have a certain link or anything. So it's going to have, yes, they can be dynamic. So what you can do with this one is point it to a document library where you've stored a bunch of images, and that way just whatever images people put in that library, you'll be able to it will automatically show those. And then it's got several different layouts like brick, grid, and carousel. And then the next one we have is quick links. Now quick links, we've already done an entire power hour about quick links. So there's a ton that you can do with the quick links web part, so much that we've already done an entire hour on it. So I'll do a little bit on quick links, but I'm not going to get super deep in it since we've already done that. And then we have the hero web part, and the hero web part's the one that you commonly see up on top of just home pages, and that's one of the ones that is automatically there and whenever you create a communication site. And that one, the purpose of that one is to have links, is to have these pretty sort of set of tiles of pictures, and each one is a link to something. And that is also not dynamic. It's just going to always be exactly what images you put in it. And it's got tiles and layers. And then within tiles and layers, you're going to be able to pick how many images / links that you want to show. And then we have highlighted content. And this one we also did a whole other power hour on, and I put a link to that in the little resources thing also. And that one, images can have links. The link is actually the link to the thing that you're displaying in the highlighted content web part. And then, yes, they can definitely be dynamic and roll up because the highlighted content web part is very versatile, and it lets you roll up just any particular type of content. You can roll up news, documents, anything like that. And you can roll up from various places, the site, the hub, a specific site. There's a ton you can do with it. And then that one has grid, list, carousel, and film strip. So let's see. These are kind of just examples of what some of the ways are that you'll see in some of the settings of how you can display the images. And Microsoft's kind of changed the verbiage of these a couple of times. So everything used to be, you'd have tiles and a grid is kind of the same thing as tiles. So now things that were called tiles are called grid now, but it's the same concept. All right, let's go dig in and we'll go look at displaying images. First of all, I have just basically created a page for each web part that I'm going to talk about here. So the first one I'll talk about is the image web part. And I'll go here. Okay, so I'm on this page and I've got an image web part. This is what an image web part looks like just out of the box. But I'm going to go ahead and delete that and show you what it looks like, the experience of adding an image web part. So you'll see it when you look at frequently used, but you can also type image to find it. And you can also see it in the text, media, and content category if you find them via categories. All right, now this interface that we see right here, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about this because you're going to see this anywhere in SharePoint where you're dealing with images. Anytime that you have to pick an image to be displayed in a web part or on a page. So this interface is going to show me that by default it says recent, so it's going to show me recent images. And a lot of these are images that I've recently uploaded to the SharePoint site. And then my favorite is stock images. Now this is so cool. This is fairly new. This came out probably 6 months ago or so, this concept of being able to search through stock images. So for example, if I have an event coming up and I want to display a nice pretty calendar on my page to talk about the event, I can just go type calendar and pick one of these lovely, lovely stock images. So that's where you can look at stock images. And then you can do a web search. Web search is all we had before we had stock images. So you've got categories when you do a web search. And then with a web search, you might be able to find something more specific, like if you type a particular product name or company name or something like that here, it'll search the whole web for it. But it's also, by default, it's going to show you Creative Commons only, which means it's free for anyone to use. It's just free images on the web. But you can technically change this to all, which will search all of the internet for, you know, whatever word you search here. And you can also change the size if you want to maybe only find small images. So that's the slight difference between stock images and web search. Stock images, someone has specifically put them there, and those have all been, that's probably a third-party company that Microsoft has a partnership with that created all the stock images. Web search, you're just looking for stuff on the web. All right, then we have your organization. Your organization, we actually had a whole power hour about this too. So this is that concept of organization assets. So in the organization assets power hour, we talked about how you can, I think it was a PowerShell script that I had to run, how you can create this concept of having your own company's images in a particular place that people can use on all of the sites. Joelle, have you done projects for any customers that had specific corporate images that they wanted everyone to use on pages and needed to have them in a specific place?
Oh yeah, definitely. All kinds of brand images and stuff like that.
It was like probably the marketing department kind of pushing those.
Yeah, it's typically marketing or like corporate communication sometimes too.
Yeah, so they'll have pictures of their products, they'll have pictures of people using their products or pictures from a catalog, and they want you to use their pictures on your SharePoint pages. So that's where you could potentially put your site assets, and you could, and this is just one of the site assets library. Now, when you dig in to a library here, I can also view this as tiles, which is much more useful when you're looking at images to try and figure out what you want to pick. So when I went to your organization, these are the 3 different organization asset libraries that I created. The Metro one was when I created this concept of all these little sort of Metro tiles that was kind of trendy about 8 or 10 years ago, that everybody wanted to have the little Metro tiles on their pages. So that is where those come from under your organization. And you might not even have the your organization tab here if you haven't set up organization assets. All right, and then you have OneDrive, and that's going to be my own OneDrive and any images that I have there. And the site is going to be this site. So this is this specific SharePoint site that I'm on right now on this web part. So this is the document library of the site that I'm on. So you notice that every time I go to one of these libraries, I immediately just toggle this over to the tile view so that I can see what the images are and pick one. And then good old-fashioned upload. If your image that you want to pick doesn't exist in the web or stock image and you just have it on your computer and you want to upload it, you can pick upload here, and then that will actually upload the file and put it in the site assets library on that site, and it will put it in your web part. But it is going to put it in SharePoint. And then from a link is where if your image already exists in SharePoint or OneDrive and you have a hyperlink to that image, you could paste that link there. So lots of different ways that you can put an image on your page. I'll go ahead and let's see, I'll go back to this site and I'll just use an image that I've got in the library in this site. Dun, dun, dun. I'll use the drone picture, our IW Mentor drone. Okay, so here, this is really large. And so this image web part is going to put this by default just as the full regular, just the size of that image. Well, if it's bigger than the width of the space that I've got this web part in, it's not going to go off the page, but it basically put it down to be able to fit in the width of the column that it's in. So if I was on a page that had multiple columns, it's going to squish it down for me and make it show just in that one little area on the page. So that's one way I can make it look a little smaller. So when I click on the image, I can edit the web part, move it, duplicate it, delete it. And it's prompting me, it's wanting me to put a little alternate text on it, and it's kind of hinting at that. That's what that little yellow thing is. So if I want to change what image I've already selected, I can change it here. But if I don't have to have this be a link to something, but if I did, I could just put the link here. And then do I want to have some of that text over the image? And the text over the image is where it's going to let you type this black in this little sort of black overlay. This is a drone. Now this is a little weird because you're typing it, a drone, you're typing it directly in the web part and not in the web part settings. So that's kind of a little like most things you're going to be doing are in the web part settings over on the right. So I'll just put drone picture. So that's my alternate text. And now let's see, it stopped nagging me about it. All right, so now those are kind of the settings I've gone over. Now there's more that you can do though. Look at all these little icons of what I can do with my image. So I can resize it, which means I can just drag a corner of it down like that. I can crop it, which that looks a little weird. Let me see if I can undo that. There we go. I'll do the crop. Yeah, so the crop kind of smushed it down a little bit, and then it's asking me kind of where I want to crop it. So let's see how that looks. That kind of smushed it. That looks really, really odd. Also, I can do the aspect ratio. I can pick a specific one. So sometimes your marketing department is going to have very specific, if you have marketing communications that cares about this kind of thing, they might have specific aspect ratios that they want you to use on your images. This is the alignment of the image. And then this is where I can reset it. So now I can put it back to, because I really messed that thing up. And I can save, whatever little edits I'm making in here. I'll go ahead and resize it again. There. And save. So whatever edits you make to the image, you'll need to click that little save button. And then I'm going to go ahead. Look, it says the image is too small for a text overlay. To add text, make the image larger. So if I want the image to, if I want that text overlay to show, then it does need to be bigger. So I would have to kind of just play with the size to make it look the way I want. All right. Is anybody asking any questions yet? This is pretty basic stuff so far. Let me see. Yeah, that's true, Steve. Well, I could ship you a drone to Canada. I just would, yeah. I'm not sure what the shipping is going to cost. Okay. Let's see. Now that's the image web part. And I'm going to discard all my changes and put it back how it was. Okay, so then the next web part that I'm going to talk about is the image gallery. And I've got an image gallery on here, and so just like I did with the image, I'll go ahead and just delete this and re-add it. And I can search for it, go to my image gallery. So again, this is for something like if you have images of the company picnic that you want everyone to be able to see and have them rotate in a carousel or something like that, they're just not going to have hyperlinks on them. So do I want to have select images, or do I want to have dynamically display images from a document library? So if I choose dynamically display images from a document library, it's going to ask me what document library and whether I want to include subfolders. So it's This one is weird because it didn't show me a document library. Let me go ahead and see if I save this, if it makes a difference. That is odd. Because I have a document library that I put a bunch of images in. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me go. I'll do the manual way of adding images, but I'm going to go back and discard my changes and then just see if it lets me toggle from... Nope. Undo. That is odd. I feel like that's something buggy, that it's not letting me pick from a document library when I have a document library full of images. Now, this is only going to be a document library on this site. So when I'm on this site and I go to my site contents, I've got, see, this is my document library. So here are all my images that I was practicing with when I tried this web part before Power Hour started. And they're in the document library. So the idea behind the concept of dynamically displaying them is that if you're dynamically displaying them, then whatever images people have put in this library will display in the web part, and then you don't have to worry about people having to be able to edit the image web part and edit what that looks like. They'll just be able to put the images in the library, and then they would automatically display in that web part. So that's the gist of what we're getting at here. So let me go back to my image gallery. Okay, so what I'm going to do is edit this again and then just add my images. So I'm just going to click the button to add the images. And then these are going to be, this is where I can pick, again, that same exact interface. I can go pick the images that I want. Just pick a bunch of them. Okay. So now I picked a bunch of images. So let's go look at the settings of this one. So I've got select images. And that's pretty much like I showed you. You're either selecting them or they're displaying from a specific library. And then you've got 3 different ways that they're going to be displayed. You've got brick, grid, and carousel. And the carousel is going to let people go through like a slideshow. So there used to be a slideshow web part, didn't there, Joelle? Do you remember that one? Yeah. There was a slideshow web part where you used to be able to display a bunch of images and have them come from a library, same concept. So this is, if you want to have that concept of a slideshow, that's what you would be able to do. So you can say how many that you want, how many seconds that you want between each change, and then how you want that to show here. So I'm going to see if I can pick more of them. So I'm going to choose add. My phone is going nuts. I think that I'm on some kind of distribution list that keeps sending like hundreds and hundreds of emails. My phone keeps buzzing. So sorry, I'm turning it off. Okay, it was a little distracting. Okay, so I'm selecting them. So I added 3 of them. I'm just going to add a few more. Okay. So see the brick concept? The brick concept looks really cool, right? Because it takes whatever size each image is and it kind of bases the way that it lays them out in this brick layout on sort of the aspect ratio of each of the images. So then it just kind of makes it look however it thinks it should look. So that's my brick layout. And then if I use a grid, that's where I can decide if I want them to be square. Notice that by default, it puts them as square. And then I could make them 16 by 9 and they're wider. And then I could do 4 by 3. So it's up to you as far as what their image is of and how good they look, you know, depending on how it's going to end up rendering whenever they're on the page like this, if you kind of crop them all and make them square. So with the grid, it lets you do the aspect ratio, and with the carousel, it tells you tell it whether or not you want it to automatically cycle. And if you do want it to automatically cycle, that's where it shows you the seconds. Okay. I'm going to try saving that, and I'm going to try one more time doing that setting of dynamically showing them from the library, because that's a little weird that that wasn't working. Yeah. All right. I've got multiple document libraries on this site, and it is just not showing them listed here in this dropdown. Alrighty. Okay, so that's the image gallery. Let's see if there are any questions. Oh, they're talking about the different types of stock images and things. Yeah, those are fun. Okay. Then we have quick links. All right, and again, we already did a whole power hour about quick links, but right now I have this quick links web part. It's not displaying images, it's displaying buttons, but this is a way that you could display images if you want to. So you can actually edit each one of the quick links that you add, and each quick link can have an auto-selected image or one that you pick. So auto-selected means that if what you have here is a link to something like a SharePoint page, a SharePoint news page, a page that has an image associated with it, then that is going to automatically select the picture off that page. So I'm going to pause what I'm doing with this web part, and then I'm going to show you what I'm referring to on these pages. So I'll go ahead and just save this draft. And then, so I have, let's say, let me go look at some recently modified ones. I have this web part called My Feed, this page that I created called My Feed. So when I'm editing this page, and this is just a different web part called My Feed, but the idea, what I'm showing you is a concept about all pages in SharePoint. Pages are going to have the ability for you to edit the page details. So this is where you can control what image would be auto-selected when this page or piece of news is being rolled up in one of these web parts, like highlighted content, or like in quick links when you pick that link, and this would be the image that would automatically show to represent that page. So I can change my thumbnail here. So I'll just do, let's see, what is the name of this page? My Feed. My Feed, and I'll put a cupcake. That's silly, right? Okay, so then this is the My Feed web part. So you understand that what I'm showing you has nothing to do with the web part on this page, but it has to do with that page details. So whatever is in the page details as the thumbnail is what, and so this is important, having to do with images, because that is how you can control what it shows when it rolls up. And Joelle, do you know, when you're working with pages, does that image thumbnail ever automatically populate itself? Like, do you always have to go and put it on there?
No, it automatically does.
So if you put an image on your page, that will automatically become the image thumbnail for that page?
It will, as long as you don't have a header image, because I think the header image is always the thing that like takes precedence, you know?
Oh, okay.
So it's always like the first one that it picks, but if you don't have a header image, then I think it's the next image would probably be like a web part.
Let's go do that on a different page. So I'm going to go to my Twitter page, and I'm going to edit the page. And so this is what Joelle's talking about. She's talking about the header image. So I'm going to just pick image and title. That's the default that most pages have. And then I'm going to give it a header image. I'll just do bird. There. It's not really a Twitter bird, but I'll set my focal point. There we go. So that is now, I'm going to publish this page, and then I'm going to go into the details, and go see if this is the page, the image that it's given itself. Yeah, so look at that. All right, so as you create pages in SharePoint, just keep in mind that whatever image you have as that title image is the one that is going to be in the thumbnail, but you can go to your page details and change the thumbnail if you want to control what's going to show up when that page rolls up. And that's going to be more applicable when we talk about the highlighted content web part too. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just publish that again. Okay, so back to quick links. I'll go back and edit that. And then I'm going to change my quick links to have a different look to it. So I can do grid or tiles, and film strip is also going to use the image. So compact is not, it can have a little image or an icon, but compact is not going to automatically show the image from that page if you've got a link to a page. Film strip is. So this is the image that I actually inserted on this page. And so is grid, buttons is not, list is not, and tiles is not. You would think tiles would, but grid is going to be more the one you want to use if you want all of your quick links to look like images. So I'll go to this one. Let's see, I'll add another link. And I'm adding another quick link. And for this quick link, I'm going to choose the Twitter. Where'd it go? The Twitter page. So since I'm choosing the Twitter page for my quick link, look at that. See, it's automatically taking the image from the Twitter page. That's the default thumbnail image, and it's putting that in my quick link. But I can go ahead and change this. So like for Yammer, I can just go change this. Maybe my Yammer page doesn't have just a default image that it pulled in. I'll just go click change. And then this is where I can go pick a different, maybe I can search for Yammer. And I can display one of these. And that looks a little odd. It's kind of cut off, but you get the idea. And then this is my alternate text field for the thumbnail image. So I'll just say Yammer logo. So I can do my alternate text when I'm doing a custom image. So let's go to this other one and see, I can do alternate text here and this one. So anything that I'm showing as an image in quick links, I can do the alternate text and I can change what the image is. And of course you can change what it links to also in each individual one. So this is your settings for the whole web part. And this on each image is going to be the settings that you have for that particular image, for that particular quick link. And again, it's just hard coded. It's just going to be one specific link and a specific image. But that's how, just another way that you can have clickable images on your page. Okay, and the next web part we have is hero. Go ahead and publish that and go to my hero page. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so when I'm adding a hero web part, I've got one already on here, but I'll show you what it looks like when you first add it. That's going to be one that usually shows right at the top here. And so when you first insert the hero, that's a lot of work. I mean, it gives you all these things that you have to click and configure. So it is a little daunting because when you insert this web part, you might not immediately know what you want all the things to link to and look like. So let's go look at some of the settings. So I have two concepts here, tiles and layers, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So when I change it to layers, this is going to take me all the way down the page. It's going to be 5 layers. So then with layers, you have an image on the left and a title and description and even a button over on the right, and it just alternates them down the page. And so of course I can change it to 4 which is just going to be 4 layers, 3. So you might not want your page to be that long. You might just want it to have 2 layers. But that's the concept. If you have a lot of titles and descriptions and links and images that you want people to scroll down the page to get to, that's where you can use the layers. And for tiles, you just, however many tiles you have, that's how many ones of these that you'll have. And then the one that's bigger is going to be the one that's got some slightly different settings. So I'm going to delete this one that I just added, and we'll look at this one that I already added to the page and kind of look at how different it looks when I toggle it across the different layers and tiles. So let's go over what we can configure when it's a layer and kind of what all the settings are on each individual one. And then we'll look at it with tiles and kind of some of the differences. So with layers, so just like I showed you, excuse me, with the Quick Links web part, you have your web part settings over here, and then each individual one has its own settings. So it's the same thing with this web part. And you kind of have to hover over it to get to that. So it might be kind of hidden at first. So I go to, like this one is the weather, and I click edit on this specific tile, and then that's where I can edit what it says. So I'm going to create a bunch of quick text using Word, my little trick. Equals rand. There we go. So there's my verbiage that I can put here. And so you can see that it does cut off, so it's not going to show necessarily everything that you put in this box. But let's see. I'll get rid of there. There we go. That's a good amount of description to have. And then you can have, so I have my background image, which is the one that's showing next to this text. And then I also have some alternative text like clouds. And I have some other options way down here. Hopefully you can see this. So do I want to show a topic heading? So if I show a topic heading, what does that look like? This is the topic heading. So then it starts appearing in purple. Now because my page, my theme, my color theme for this site is purple, that's why it's showing in purple. So you're not going to be able to go change a specific color on a specific piece of text in here. It's just getting that color from the theme of your site, from the color theme. And then do I want to show a call to action link? So this one, it just came with a learn more. That's just the default, but I can decide whether or not I want to show learn more here, and give it some call to action text and a link. So it'll be like, and what is it going to link to? So the tricky thing about the call to action link and the tile is that you have a link. So inherently each tile in your hero web part has a link, but when you do the call to action, you're adding a second link. So that means somebody's going to be clicking on the cloud to go one place, and then they're going to be clicking on this little learn more to go to potentially a different link. So to me, that's a little confusing. I'm not sure. You might want to just put the same link in both places if you're going to do that, because users might not know kind of what the difference is when they're interacting with the page. So then we can go down. So we filled in our title, description, and everything for this first tile. And then so you could do the same thing with the second tile, and you can have just another description there. Let's cut that off a little bit, put a little bit less. Anyway, and then again, same settings. These just for each individual one down the page, you decide whether or not you want it to have a topic heading, which will be that purple, and it'll be in uppercase. And it just depends on how much you have to say. So with the layers down the page, you have the ability to do a lot of content. You have the ability to have titles for every single one of these, and topic headings, and descriptions, and 2 different links. So that's just a ton of different options you have. Let's go ahead and go to the web part settings again. And I'm going to switch this over to tiles instead of layers. So with tiles, you have some different settings for each individual tile. So I've got 5 tiles, that's the most I can have. And you can see if I change it to 4, it's still got a big one on the left, but then this one's kind of medium size. But when I go edit each individual tile, it's got some slightly different options. So do I want to show the title? So that's weather in this case. Weather is the title. So I may not want to show the title. And of course, each one has a link, so I can change what each of these tiles links to. And then I can also do an auto-selected image. So what is an auto-selected image? That's the thing that I was just talking about a few minutes ago. And that is when you are linking to a page or piece of content in SharePoint, and it automatically determines what the image needs to be based on the content that you're linking to, like that page or news. So then I can do a custom image, which means I can just manually change what the image is showing in here with that same exact interface. And I can do my alternative text. And then whether or not I want to show the call to action. Now again, this is going to be a little odd because of it being 2 different links. So let me, I'm going to publish this and show you what I mean by that. So like this tile is a link, and that takes me to this SharePoint page called weather. But this learn more is also a link, and you can see when I'm hovering over it, it's bing.com basically. It's taking me to Bing. So you see it's a little odd. It's a little confusing. So yeah, it's kind of up to you. Again, you might want to have them both be the same link, or have it make a little bit, kind of make it make more sense to the end users. All right, and then so that's my big tile on the left as actually going to have more options for what I can do with it. So when I go to my other tiles, let's see, like a smaller one. See these little smaller tiles? The smaller tile doesn't have that options section. So my code snippet does. So I can do learn more for this second tile because it's kind of medium sized. But then all the smaller ones are not going to give you that. No call to action. But of course you can make this call to action say something else, like sign up or something. Okay, and then for each one of these images in the tile, and you'll see this little concept in a lot of places, you have this focal point. So the focal point means that's where, especially if you have a bigger image, that's where you want it to hone in on the image. So you see how I kind of dragged it across? Like I'll change this focal point. So it's going to let you kind of go around in the image and pick the part of the image that you want to show to make sure that it's highlighting whatever you want to highlight. And the same thing goes for when you have that title of your whole page, and you have the ability to change the image. So let's go to stock images. Ooh, that's pretty. And then same goes for that one with the image focal point. All right, one more thing with the hero web part is for each of these, I'll put it on 5 tiles again. You have the ability to change it to be a color block instead. So I can do color block, and I want this one to be a color block. So then that makes it look a little interesting, right? That gives it kind of a little difference, and it doesn't have to be a bunch of images. It can just be a couple of images and a couple of color blocks, however you want to arrange that. But that's just another option you have for the way you want it to look. Let's see. Oh yeah, and so people are also talking about that column concept too. So it also depends on, all these web parts are going to look slightly different when you start arranging them in columns on your page too. So just like I showed with the image web part, it can it can shrink when you put it in a smaller, like a 2-column layout or a 3-column. It will get narrower, and the quick links will kind of do the same thing. It will just arrange itself to be in that part of the page wherever you put the web part. Okay, we have highlighted content next. Okay, here's my highlighted content web part. Again, I put a link to the whole other Power Hour we did about this one, but I'll go ahead and delete this one and show it to you from scratch. So highlighted content is my favorite. Joelle, do you have a favorite web part? Is it the highlighted content?
It's up there. I think my favorite web part is probably quick links.
Oh yeah, really?
That's the one.
Anybody in chat?
Most, but I like highlighted content. I also mentioned a call to action. I use that a lot too.
Oh, really? We'll talk about that one too. Yeah, it's a good idea. Because that one can also have an image as well. Okay, so highlighted content is, by default, it just will say most recent documents, and it will just have a bunch of documents. But even when it's showing documents, it's showing images. If the documents are lovely, it's going to be showing the images, and whatever it rolls up, it will show. Like if it's a news page, it will show the image on that news page. If it's just a SharePoint page that's not a news page, either way, it'll show that title, image, or page details, thumbnail image by default. Okay, where do I want to roll it up from? I'm just going to say all sites, and then what type of file, what type of content do I want to roll up? I'll pick news. And you can see that this looks really, really slick looking because it's taking that default image for each piece of news and showing it here. And then when an end user clicks on one of these, it takes them to the news, obviously. Now you do have the ability to roll up images, but it's not going to be really the same concept and purpose that you'd have in the image web parts that we talked about, because if you're rolling up images here, then when someone clicks on one, what is it going to do? So usually when you're showing an image, you want to control where it takes them when they click on the image, like to a website or something. But for these, when you click on it, it's just taking them to the image. So if that's what you're trying to achieve, if you want it to just take them to the image when you click on the image, then and take them away from the page potentially, that's what you could do. But yeah, that's just going to take them to that image itself. So that's probably not a best practice, probably not what most people are going to be doing with the highlighted content web part in images. But probably I would say the takeaway is going to be that you can roll up things that have images associated with them, like events that might have, images set up on each, as you created each event, or news, etc. So now videos might be more useful if you want to roll up videos and then someone clicks on the video. Apparently my daughter's been in here putting her homework in here. You click on the video, then it would take them to where they're watching the video. And then, of course, in our other Power Hour, we talk about all these concepts of where the content is and where you're rolling it up from. But then just one more thing about this one is you have your grid, your list, your carousel, and your film strip. So the film strip that's a good way to kind of take up less real estate on the page, but give a way that people can kind of scroll from side to side. See, it's got these little dots, and you're going to tell it how many pieces of information you want it to show. I'll just say like 20. And then since it's rolling up 20 pieces of news, so I put news in here, then it's going to give them lots of little dots they can scroll across when they're interacting with the page. So that's what the film strip is going to give them. And the carousel is going to look slightly different. It's going to have a little bit more information down here at the bottom. See, carousel is telling me some information about what site it's on, And the film strip is, it's got more of that sort of tile. It's smaller. Okay, let's see. And then we have, this is a link that I put in the list of resources, image sizing and scaling in SharePoint Modern Pages. And it talks about, now this is, Joelle, in your experience, probably the communications and marketing departments. This is the kind of stuff they really care about. The image sizes and things. Yeah. So you have just, if you really, really care about all of your image sizes and them having look a certain way on your pages, you can peruse this. But then it's got all the details about these web parts that we've been talking about, like hero web part, highlighted content, image web part, and it's just got nitty gritty, really nerdy details about all these image sizes. Now, news web part is not one I just demonstrated, but it also, of course, it rolls up news, so inherently it rolls up the images that go with each news page. And then I also mentioned when I went to one of the pages and changed that page title image, that's yet another image to be concerned about with, you know, having a certain size and focal point. And your thumbnail, again, will default to whatever that title image is, but you can change it if you want to. There's the quick links web part and just some tips about that focal point. And we'll do one more web part. We're going to do, I'll just republish that. And where did it go? The countdown timer does have an image, and let's go look at call to action. Joelle says she likes this one. That is so pretty. So the call to action is going to fill up the width of whatever part of the page you put it on. And then it's got, again, just like the image web part, it's got where you can type what you want to show in this little black area, but you type it directly in the web part. And then separately, you have a button that it's going to show that you can tell it what you want the button to take you to, and then you can align it a certain way. And then just like with all the images we've been talking about, you can change it and pick a different image from the same exact interface. And then you can change the focal point of the image. I don't think I changed it, but anyway. Some lovely flowers. And there we go. Okay. So that's the call to action. And then what if I put the call to action in 2 columns? So you can look, now it changes my image. Now you can see that it kind of shrinks itself down. So all the web parts we've been talking about will shrink themselves down when you put them in different layouts of the page. And that's a way you can make them not look so gigantic if you want to change your alignment and change what your columns are.
And instead of doing a hero, sometimes what I've done is do like a 3-column section, and then just do like if they have like 3 big topics of their site, then just do like a call to action in each section, and then with like an image, different text or whatever. And that sometimes it's like it looks a little bit, it takes up a little less space than like the big, hero web part.
Oh, that's true.
You don't have to worry about keeping it updated all the time.
Nice tip, thanks. Let's see what it looks like when I change. I change it to purple. See, I changed the background of this section. I don't know if we need to have a whole power hour about this, but have you noticed that the sections are collapsible now?
I actually hadn't. I must not be in the tenants I'm working in right now. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I knew it was coming, but I hadn't seen it in person.
Let's see. I'm going to do another section down here real quick. I'm going to do my documents. Okay. So now let me publish this and see. That's a little bonus that we've got for the last 5 minutes is, oh look, there's the little, okay. And so sections are now collapsible. So this section I made collapsible, and this other section that's got the recent documents in it, I didn't. So let's go. So this one is my little gray section here with recent documents. And see, I can make it collapsible, and I can say whether I want it to be collapsed by default, call it docs. And then this other one, I can say I want it collapsed by default. And then let's go look at the page. What do y'all think of that? Have y'all seen this in your tenant? So this section is, I made it purple and I can expand it. And this section I made it gray, and look, I can expand it. So that's pretty neat. I'm trying to think of where I could use that now.
FAQ, maybe? Like an FAQ page.
Good idea. Yeah. You could put an FAQ and put each one as a call to action.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of that? Do y'all see the collapsible sections in your tenant?
I think it's good for like text heavy pages. You know, I feel like on a homepage, I mean, I would like to see what everybody else thinks, but I think on like a homepage, people may miss it, like may not pay attention to a collapsible section. Yeah. But I think like on like a page that's got like a lot of text information on it, that might be good to have, because then they can just click the header.
Like that wiki concept, maybe.
Yeah.
But having the arrow over on the side is a little.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like that, to me, that kind of, it's hard to tell, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, I know obviously within a few minutes you can figure it out, or a few seconds you can figure it out, but it's just not like instantly intuitive that there's something there.
Yeah, at least you can click anywhere on it, and you don't have to click all the way over here on the right. You can just kind of go somewhere in the middle. But yeah, that is definitely an interesting concept. It's kind of cool idea to make them alternate like that, though, and that would be perfect for a Q&A. So put some text web parts in each one, and you could put the question here as the section name, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That
would be a good use of that.
They're all like, what? Mind blown. I'm going to go see if I can find that. All right. Well, do you all know everything you ever wanted to know about images on SharePoint pages now? That was pretty thorough. I can't believe I stretched that to an hour. Okay. So let's see. Let me go to our schedule. You go to, if you want to know when we're having Power Hour, you can go to our schedule page. So we just had office hours this week for our Ultimate members, Power Hour. Next week we have Power Hour. And then the week of September 20th through 24th, we have our online interactive course, Advanced Power Apps for 3 days and Advanced Power Automate for 2 days. So I would love to have you join us there. When you click on it, you can see that you can actually buy both of them together for a slight discount for $600. So come read all about it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining Power Hour. And we'll see you next time. And go ahead and click. You can click on this Power Hour page where you're watching to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and subscribe to receive the newsletters. Have a good Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.